The Scramble on Underdog is going live in a matter of hours. It seems like at this point, this thing is roaring. 50K to first, $500,000 in prices. So you guys already know. I had to get my man Jason back on the show. If you know, you know. You remember we chopped it up last year, I think it was, for the Scramble, and that was honestly like one of my favorite shows that we had done. So had to bring him back. Jason, how's it going, man? How you been?
Hey, it's going great down here in sunny Florida today. These are the days why I moved from my New England roots down here. You know, Tom Brady followed me, of course. But yeah, it's a great day outside of Tampa, Florida, and yeah, I'm doing great. I absolutely love this PGA basketball contest. Might be like one of my favorite DFS contests out there. The strategy that goes involved, and we've got a little difference this year, which I'm really excited to talk about. We're starting with the first tournament of the year, the Sentry Tournament Champion. So that excites me because I think it adds just another layer of strategy on top of what's already a very strategic game.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't put enough emphasis on the strategy required in this tournament. It's really unlike any other best ball tournament for any other sport that's out there. Even like the Albatross for PGA is even simpler than this. This requires so much nuance because imagine you're playing NFL best ball and you have players with 10 bye weeks and some with only two. It's really going to change your strategy. And unless you're in the weeds and consuming a lot of content, it's hard to know that. So that's what we're trying to do today. And I know you got some good alpha for us. But Jason, before we begin though, like let's, let everybody know like what you got going on and what you're up to these days.
Yeah, last time we talked, I was obviously in the Rainmaker and Basketball streets. And for people that were in the Rainmaker streets with me, know that those streets ended. They came to a close. Yeah, rest in peace. Here's there. But all good things, I guess, come to an end. But in that regard, it did lead to another great thing. I'm over at Gambling now. Which is run by Jonathan Bales and Cal Spears. And we are just doing some amazing things here. And if you don't mind, what I'm going to do is just share my screen really quickly and show you what kind of stuff we're working on specific to golf. And if I had this a couple of years ago, it would have really been fantastic. Would have saved me quite a bit of money and maybe some too. So just a really quick example. This is on gambling.com. This is all free, so you can go and do this at any time. I'm just going to do Patrick Cantlay odds. Obviously, we have NBA and NFL, but this is the golf show. So you type in Patrick Cantlay odds, and it gives you all of his available odds for the sports books that will be live in your state. So you can compare the winner odds, top 5 odds, top 20 from all of the sites. That took, 5-10 seconds, not even. From when we were talking about it. So just a really great resource. Again, this is free. You don't have to sign up or anything. So, would love to have you guys come on it and try it out. And of course, provide any feedback as we're still in beta right now. But yeah, really exciting. Thanks for having me on and let me show that for a second.
Yeah, for sure, man. No, I think it's a very cool resource and definitely something that people are interested should be checking out. So, obviously, this tournament has multiple rounds, as all best ball tournaments do on Underdog. And you mentioned the Sentry being included. This was not included last year. Is that my understanding?
Yeah. So the tournament just started. I think the idea of the full season kind of started a little bit later. So it was just the structure of the tournament was a little bit different. Now we're starting this year at the Sentry Tournament Champions, which is a no-cut event. But beyond it being a no-cut event, it typically is one of the highest scoring in terms of DFS points for the year. So, for example, I had the average points per player that played in this event last year using the Underdog scoring system at 140 points. Just to give you an example, the average player that played in the Farmers, which is 3 or 4 weeks later, was 70. So, basically, it can almost count as 2 events. And that's if the golfer even made the cut. Obviously, if the golfer doesn't make the cut at the Farmers, which, it's 140 players, top 65, make the weekend, you got a less than 50% chance to make the cut. They could end up with 30 points. So, that's kind of the lead into the strategy that I'm excited to talk to you about.
Yeah, so it seems like for me, based on the fact that the Sentry does score so high and it is the first tournament that we have, it seems to be one of the most impactful for advancing through round 1 and 2. On top of it, it's also the most projectable because I'm guessing at this point, considering this thing starts in a few hours, essentially, we know the field for the Sentry at this point, right?
As long as the best player in the world doesn't cut his hand again, or the fifth best player in the world stubbing his toe on a bed frame, for all those that may not be quite up into the golf news yet. Scotty Scheffler cut his hand not playing in Sentry. That definitely affected best ball drafts, by the way. And Victor Hovland is going to play, but fractured his toe or broke his pinky toe on a bed frame there, probably somewhere in Kapalua. So just interesting to note that Hovland has tanked down the ADP since that injury news came out. But yeah, the field is set. We know who's playing again, and as long as we don't have anything weird happen in the next 24 to 12 to 6 hours, depending on when you're watching this. So yes, definitely the most projected.
So given the importance of the Sentry, do you have any players that you have like way ahead of ADP to try to get ahead of this high scoring event?
Yeah, definitely. There are a couple of guys that I've absolutely loved the strategy of stacking my top 4 players. I've noticed that, sure, Xander's still going in your top 3 picks. Sung J M still going in your top 3 picks. But I'm noticing the Colin Morikawas, the Ludwig Abergs, the Justin Thomases, the Patrick Cantlays. These guys are slipping down boards. Justin Thomas and Patrick Cantlay have their ADPs in the 20, and I think they both could put up 160-plus points this week.
Wow.
Again, for me, that's as good as playing both the Farmers and the Waste Management. You got to think that some of these other guys that you're going to roster, let's take Ben Griffin, for example, right? Great player. Not taking anything away from him. He's not Patrick Cantlay. He's not Justin Thomas. The likelihood of him missing the cut at the Farmers or the Waste Management, probably pretty high. If he does, in fact, do that, Patrick Cantlay is going to way outscore Ben Griffin in this first round. Now, as we go along, is Ben Griffin possibly going to score more fantasy points throughout the whole season than Cantlay and Thomas? Yes, I think that is possible. But we got to get to the other rounds. And in my opinion, the Patrick Cantlay and Justin Thomas, they're my 2 favorite players. I have no problem sharing my exposure. I'm drafting Patrick Cantlay in every single tournament if I can. The ADP of 24, I'm getting him in pick 3, 4, 5, and 6, and I'm super happy about that.
Wow. Yeah. I love that idea of just like going out and getting your guys and saying really to hell with ADP, because for a contest like this, man, it really just doesn't seem necessary to adhere to ADP quite strongly, considering when you consider the nuances of this tournament and how much players have already moved as is. It just, to me, doesn't really make a ton of sense to give ADP that much respect if you know and you feel Cantlay is that strong of a play. And based on what you've told me, if Cantlay's playing in the Sentry, yeah, I'm taking Patrick Cantlay. He's one of the best golfers that you can find on like an NFL, on like a PGA dailies, like Battle Royale. He's like a top 2 round player. Exactly. And now you get it pick 24 in the Scramble. Yeah, sign me up. I like that as like a keystone cornerstone pick in these tournaments.
Definitely. So to kind of balance the strategy of stacking your first 4 guys, that's what I'm really doing. You'll see in almost every one of my drafts, it's if I can get Xander, it's Xander. If it's Sungjae, it's Sungjae. And that next pick, it's either Akshay or Sahith Theegala. I mean, I love those guys. They play all the time. I think they're budding stars. I think they're going to really emerge into the Ryder Cup. I kind of look at it, as if you're going to get in position to make the Ryder Cup team, these guys should be on your Scramble team because they're going to play good all year. They're going to be at a lot of top finishes. So Bhatia and Theegala are my 2 pick. The 3, 4, again, love Justin Thomas, love Patrick Cantlay. But maybe Bhatia and Theegala don't go to, say, Mexico. Maybe they don't go to the Rocket Mortgage. So what I'm trying to do is I'm in picks 6 through 10, I'm really trying to get guys that I know are likely going to be playing in those events. So Mexico is your first event in round 2. Even if you want to say the Cognizant, that down there in Palm Beach, the former Honda Classic, Keith Mitchell, Patrick Rogers, and Michael Thorne Bjornsson are going to play in both those events. I'm almost unless they win, and they're going to play in the Sony, the American, the Farmers, and the Waste Management for sure in round 1. So now you've got 4 guys that are going to play in the Sentry, the AT&T, and the Genesis. You've got your top 4 for those 3 signature events. Now you put in Keith Mitchell, Patrick Rogers, and Michael Thorne Bjornsson for the non-signature events, and they're going to play in all those. So Thorne Bjornsson's a rookie this year. He's the number 1 PGA Tour University grad. It's what Ludwig Aberg won the year prior.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and this guy, Thorne Bjornsson, he's got all the tools. He's got already a couple of top 10 finishes. And what I love about him is he is number 126 on the priority ranking, which means he's getting in every single tournament other than the non-signature events. So if you're going to stack your top 4, you got to have guys like Thorne Bjornsson that are going to play every week, except for those tournaments. And if he plays good, he'll play his way into those tournaments. And if he plays good enough, he'll also get sponsor exemptions into those because he's, get a highly touted player at this point.
Love that. Love finding guys like that we know are just grinders and they're going to be in there. And especially if we think that we have the tools or they have the tools to really, put up monster scores. That's just, the cherry on top. I want to take it just one step back. When we play NFL, stacking makes very much intuitive sense, right? Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase is a stack. When you say stack with PGA, are you talking stacking, i.e. attacking these guys are going to play in the Sentry? Is that what you mean by stacking?
Yeah. So these 4, let's just take the top 4 picks, right? I know they're going to play in the Sentry. And we also know that most of them are going to play in the signature events, right? So that's in the first round, it's the Sentry, the AT&T Pebble Beach, and the Genesis. Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, Justin Thomas, they're definitely going to play in those 3 events. They're probably going to play in more, but they're definitely going to play in those 3. So now what I'm doing is I need to get guys that I know are going to play in the other events. So I'm going to stack those guys. And you'll see in a lot of my lineups, I've got at least 2 of 3 of the Keith Mitchell, Patrick Rogers, Michael Thorne Bjornsson, and Rasmus Højgaard. Those 4 guys, I've got at least 2, if not 3, if not all 4 of those guys in my lineup. And then in my last 2 picks, I've got another strategy that I'll tell you about as well.
Yeah, please continue.
Yeah. So the last 2 picks, what I'm looking for in these picks are guys that are playing the Sentry that don't have status other than they won a tournament last year. So what I mean by that is they didn't get into the top 50 in the FedEx Cup, so they're not in signature events, but they have priority status because they won an event last year. So 2 names come right off the top. Chris Gotterup, he won the Myrtle Beach event. So that means he got into Sentry here, but he was ranked number 78 on the FedEx Cup. So he's not in those signature events. Needs to play well to get into them. Plus, we're getting the Sentry as one of his events. I also think that a guy like him is going to play the Mexico Open. So we've got the Sentry, which is super high scoring in round 1. And we've got Mexico, which is super high scoring in round 2.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy that is exactly like him, has very similar status, or 2 more guys, Harry Hall and Kevin Yu. Exact same things. They won smaller events last year, got them finished in the top 100, but the top 100 basically does nothing. It's the top 50 that matters for the FedEx Cup. So, these are guys that I'm drafting late. Kevin Yu and Harry Hall was the 3rd one.
Yeah, how do I spell that?
Harry, Harry, and then like a hallway.
Oh, Hall, sorry. Okay, there we go. Yeah, okay. We like Hall and we like you. Got it.
So these are the strategies that I love doing because now I've got my top 4 core guys that I'm going to ride with in every big event, whether it be the Masters or whatever. Those 4 guys are likely going to be in all of the big events. So now I've got them as my horsemen for the whole year, really. I expect them to really make it all the way to the end. And then the other 6 guys, what I'm doing is I'm looking for guys that have high priority status, that are going to play a bunch of golf, that need to also play golf to make the top 100 on the FedEx Cup, because that's the big change this year for the PGA Tour. It's not the top 125 get their job back. It's the top 100 that get their job back. So less jobs to be given at the end of this year.
Wow, very interesting. I wasn't aware of that cut down. So that really does change things. One question that's like, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I can expand just a little bit on that.
Please.
Just really briefly. So when I was doing my priority rankings because the PGA Tour is unfortunately a little bit behind. If you go to their PGA, their priority rankings on their website, it's last year's, unfortunately. So we had to do our own. And what I did is I sourced a few people from the industry at Monday Q Info. Ryan French, probably like the nicest guy in the professional golf media space. I spent about a half hour talking on the phone with him about the priority rankings. And one thing that he said, he talks to a lot of these grinder type players, right? That's what he focuses on. And what he mentioned was these grinder type players, say the Chris Gotterups, for example, know that they are going to have to play more golf this year to retain their status, because it's not 125 anymore. It's the top 100. So the theme that I took away from that call from him was guys with status are going to play early and going to play often. So just another tidbit that I'm certainly using in my arsenal of projecting players.
Yeah, I like these players that we have named out here. They can be found in different pockets of the draft, which is really helpful for somebody like me who, I know the top guys. I'm not necessarily overly familiar with the grinders. Having these names on my radar will be super helpful as I dive in and try to cram in some drafts before things close out. One thing I'm always really interested in are like bad picks. I would love to know who to avoid. And you mentioned, and as most people should know or probably know, Scotty Scheffler cut his hand. And to me, if I was drafting right now, I don't know that I would ever get Scotty Scheffler because I don't think I would take him top 3. Is that an overreaction?
No, I have the exact same issue taking him number 3, even number 4. If we get to number 5 or number 6, I actually am okay with him there because I'm noticing, like I mentioned at the top, that Colin Morikawa is slipping. So I can go Scheffler Morikawa and still feel like I'm getting a good winner chance this week in Morikawa in the Sentry. And when Scotty comes back for the Amex, theoretically, I'm going to get 4 winners because he's going to play 4 events. He's going to play the Amex. He always plays the Waste Management. He loves it there, and he'll play the signature events, AT&T, Pebble, and Genesis. So he'll play the American, take a week off, and then play 3 weeks in a row. And for me, I mean, if I can get the winner in week 1 with my next pick in Colin Morikawa, and then maybe even throw in again Patrick Cantlay, I'm okay taking Scheffler at 5 and beyond.
Okay, well, that's good to know then. When I'm entering in these streets, then I won't completely back off Scotty. But yeah, that was just such an unreal update to get.
Scotty Scheffler.
Was he going 101 before that happened?
Oh yeah, it wasn't even close.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of wild how much things change. What do you think is the reason for Morikawa's fall in these drafts?
Yeah, I think it's the projection of only 4 events in this opening 7. He for some reason, even though he's a UCal guy, came out of California, he doesn't play that much on the West Coast for whatever reason, or didn't last year. Again, what's very interesting is these rookies that come out, and Morikawa was one a couple of years ago, in their rookie season, we saw with Aberg last year, they play everywhere because they don't know what courses they like. They don't know what towns they like to visit. So they just play everywhere. And then their sophomore season and their junior season, they start to get a little bit more segmented if they can. And obviously Morikawa being one of the best golfers in the world, he can pick and choose where he plays. But that's why I love Thorne Bjornsson, by the way, that this year. He's just going to play everywhere that he can. But for Morikawa, I think it's probably the fact that he's projected possibly to only play in 4 events in this, this first little bit, probably only going to play in 20 to 23 this year. So people are just saying, okay, well, I can go get Ben Griffin, Davis Thompson, who are going to play 6 or 7 more times than Morikawa in the year, and that's going to help me more. I don't necessarily. I've already suggested I don't necessarily buy into that theory because I'm not sure about the ability difference between a guy like Ben Griffin at 9.3 ADP and a guy like Patrick Rodgers at 38 ADP. I'm not sure there's much skill difference there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. I have Ben Griffin selected because we were talking about him, but in reality, he's somebody that we are not really interested in, right? That's
not going to. I like.
I'm aligned with you. I think.
Yeah, I like Ben Griffin guy, but I can get Patrick Rodgers, and I think he's just as good a golfer, if maybe not better. All right, this is the hottest topic in the industry. You ready for this? You ready for this, guy?
Let's go.
It's Eric Cole. Probably the hottest debate for me I've got a great resource, and if do you know the Model Maniac on Twitter, Byron? It's just a great guy, great
Okay.
resource. He came out with something called the Dog Dominator that I use. It's really cool, and basically he projected out a schedule and all that, and you can change that. And what I did was when Eric Cole is based off of his base projections, he's a 3 rank and in a 3 projected rank, right? But when you take him, you take one tournament away from him in round 1, he goes to ADP 24 or rank 24.
Right.
So for me, that seems like a big gamble to spend such high equity on a guy that if he just decides to sit 1 week, he should be going with the Justin Thomases and the Patrick Cantlays of the world in ADP 24, except you got to get him in the first 3 picks. To me, if I get him at pick 6, sure, I'll take him, but I'm definitely not taking him in the top 4 picks.
Wow. So the tournaments that you are worried about, is he a lock for the Sentry at least?
Yep, he's a lock for the Sentry. He's a lock for the Pebble Beach Pro-Am and the Genesis. Those are what he's a lock for. I expect him to play Sony in the American Express, but I think it's questionable that he plays both the Farmers and the Waste Management. I think
that would be a lot, obviously, and I think that's kind of what people are certainly expecting, right? On top of the fact that people seem to really like Eric Cole, at least last year. He was a pretty popular play, so I think people just like to click him on top of it.
They do, and I like Eric Cole too. He's probably the best story on the PGA Tour. I mean, just grinded the mini tour leagues here in Florida for 15 years before breaking through. And again, he's a birdie machine, good golfer, but the reason why he's going ADP 2.7 is because they expect him to play the most golf of anybody on the tour. And that could be the case. But if he sits one tournament in round 1, he should not be going in the first 3 picks.
Interesting. So you really like Sungjae, right? I think you would probably, if you were to create your own rankings right now for us, would you go Sungjae over Eric Cole, or is that a bridge too far?
Yeah. So if I'm in the first 3 picks, I am begging and crossing my fingers I get Xander Schauffele. I'm not gonna lie.
Of course.
It's an instant pick if I get him in those. I've got him a couple. At the 2 pick, if Xander's been taken 1, I have to take Sungjae. So 2, 3, 4, I'm taking Sungjae. 5, 6, 7, I look at Scheffler and Cole.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense given the Cole projection for tournaments played. Even though I like the it might not be as rosy as everybody thinks. These tournaments may not be totally guaranteed. I really like that take. Any other like spicy takes while you're here, man? I mean, I'm more than happy to be persuaded and sold on something with conviction, and I trust you. So do you got anything else that's like kind of spicy, whether it's a top player that you don't like or maybe a really strong back end player that we haven't mentioned yet?
Yeah, so Cam Davis is another guy that is going 58 in drafts, 59 ADP. And in my opinion, I think he's the same player as Davis Thompson, who's going 6 ADP. So wow. I'm not sure why there's such a difference there. Davis Thompson was a rookie last year. It means he's going to play everywhere, right? But now that he won, he's got status. He's the same player as Cam Davis. They're the same stature. Honestly, if they were wearing the same clothes, I probably couldn't tell them apart. Maybe not that far, but yeah, we got one guy's last name is the other guy's first name too. So
right. There's too many similarities here.
Definitely. Yeah, that one just really confuses me. I'm not taking anything away from Thompson. I do think he's a solid pick because he's got status. I think he'll play a lot. I just don't know how much more he'll play than Cam Davis. And Cam Davis is 59 in his ADP versus 7. Again, I would much rather use those picks. If Davis Thompson and Cam Davis are going to play the exact same amount of times this year, let's just say crystal ball, that's what's going to happen. I would rather be taking Colin Morikawa or Ludwig Aberg at 7 and then taking Cam Davis at 59.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about Ludwig because he was one of my favorite golfers last year. You know, he was obviously a rookie. Or I believe, wasn't he a rookie last year or was that 2 years? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, he came out like a year and a half ago, but yeah, full tour rookie was last year.
Yeah, and I played him a lot. I was a pretty big fan of him, and I see him now below Davis Thompson. And correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like these guys have a similar tournaments played projection, or is Davis got an edge?
Yeah, maybe I'll say Thompson is, I'll have to check on his majors. So this would be for the other one, the Albatross. Aberg is in basically every tournament. His OWGR is high enough to get him into literally everything. Thompson's not quite there yet, so that might mean he plays more PGA Tour events than Aberg. But if is it 5 more? No, I don't think it's 5 more. Is it 3 more? Yeah, maybe, but not 5 more in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's one of the picks that really stood out to me. It's where I sort of have to judge, like, okay, obviously I see this name, I want to click this name, but trying to weigh in the factors of, okay, how many tournaments is this guy going to play clearly is something to be mindful of. But I think, and you can tell me if I'm misusing the information that has been shared thus far, is I'm able to kind of, okay, take note of these players that you mentioned, especially these late back end players who I think are going to be absolute grinders, and then pair them with names that I know that I think can also like do pretty well. Is that like pretty much the name of the game?
That's definitely it. I'll talk about another guy that is super popular on Twitter that's going to fit into this grinder mentality is Michael Kim. Guy's going to play every single week that he can, which means he's going to get in all of those weird tournaments. Another grinder that's perfect. So if you want like a master list per se of guys that are kind of like this, look at the final FedEx Cup standings from last year and golfers that are ranked 70 to 110. Those are going to be your guys that play every week they possibly can. Another name in this, Taylor Moore. I think he finished like 68th maybe. He's going to play every week he can. A guy that I really like, a guy that's 59 ADP. I don't see any different between him and Ben Griffin. I think it's crazy. I think Taylor Moore might even be a better golfer. I'd have to go check Data Golf's rankings on this. But I would honestly believe that they might even agree with me here as well. Yeah, if you look at my exposure, I have basically 0 Ben Griffin, 0 Davis Thompson, and maybe 3 shares of Eric Cole at this point.
I mean, this is how I like to play these draft games. Is how you are describing this right now to me. Like, I love identifying a player that not only gets taken every time, but gets taken with priority every time. And just like, you know what, my leverage is I'm taking this player out of my player pool. And if I lose, I lose, but you stand so much to gain if that is correct. And because that's one less player that, if he's not performing as well as you think, obviously you lose those points, and then you sub that in with somebody else that's a more unique player. I love that, and I'm taking it to heart, man. I'm absolutely I'm no Ben Griffin for me. It is what it is.
Let me give you an example here. So let's just say, given the ADP, this is definitely possible. Let's say your top 3 picks were Eric Cole, Ben Griffin, and Davis Thompson, right? 2-7, 6-7, 9-4. So probably possible in some events. You're going to put those top 3 picks in, and you're going to have to go up against me, who's got Xander Schauffele, Colin Morikawa, and Justin Thomas in the first week. That seems unfair. Honestly, it seems like an unfair advantage where now in the back half of drafts, I can just go get Taylor Moore, who's the same golfer as Ben Griffin. I can go get, Michael Kim, who's going to play just as much as Eric Cole if he can, right? And maybe there's a skill difference there. And then Cam Davis and Davis Thompson, we already talked about. So for me, at the end of round 1, I expect my screen to look very well. At the end of the first week, I should say, I expect my screen to look really well because I'm getting these guys that the top 10 odds for the Sentry this week are significantly better than Davis Thompson's and Ben Griffin's. I mean, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, JT at 20 seems
a steal.
Seems just crazy to me. Another one that I just have to ask because I'm fairly familiar with the Rory stuff, but maybe other people aren't. And Rory on most majors events, you're seeing him top 3 ADPs in the dailies. Yeah. ADP 16. Can you enlighten me on this a little bit?
Yeah, the reason why I haven't brought him up is because he's one that I doesn't fit into my narrative of what I'm pitching to you here. He's not playing the Sentry. He's not going to play the American Express, which is the other high-scoring event in round 1. And by the way, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay, Scotty Scheffler, all typically always play that event. So double reason why I want to take Cantlay. But back to Rory. He could only play 3 events in round 1, and at ADP 16, it's just not going to cut it. He's in a similar bucket to Jordan Spieth. For me, Spieth, I believe, is only going to play in 4 events in this first round.
Wow.
42.5 is okay. I'm only taking him pick 9 or 10. I'd only be taking Rory at past, 5 or 6. I mean, we look at a guy like Wyndham Clark, right? Had a great year last year or last little bit. He's 35.8. He's probably going to play one more time than Rory. And, in this first little bit, Rory versus Wyndham, obviously I'm taking Rory, but he's only going to play 3 times. I can't fit that in with my narrative at this point. I would take Rory at round 6 and past.
Wow. Are you seeing that sometimes in drafts? I mean, ADP a lot of times can be a little fake. Or do you see him fall a lot, or no? People just say, screw it, I want Rory.
No, I think by round 4, there's been at least one auto pick. It's what I've got.
That's true.
And it goes off of ADP in most scenarios. So I've rarely seen Rory go past round 4.
And then last thing I want to ask you before we hop into draft and put some of this to practice, I'm seeing more and more names here that I recognize and really like. If I just name some names here, you could tell me in short, are they okay at ADP or not?
Yep.
Finau, Benny, Rye, Burns, Hideki. These are guys that I played a ton of in dailies.
Yep.
Are they okay at ADP, or do I really need to get a little cute there?
Yeah, no, I'll say that Hideki and Burns slip further than 25.9 in most cases. So
okay.
I have a lot of Hideki. The reason is because the Sony Open, the second tournament, he's almost a lock to play. So when I'm drafting Xander and Cantlay, I know those guys are going to play the Amex or are very likely to. I need a couple of stars or at least one star that I know is going to play the Sony. And Hideki's it. It's obviously Sony is a Japanese company, and there's a big Japanese influence and Asian Pacific influence in Hawaii. So he always plays in it. He won it 1 year. So yeah, for me, Hideki is injury concerns are why I'm not clicking him every draft. I don't want to be too overexposed. That's the only reason there. But yeah, he's a great pick for me at the 5 or the 6 pick after I've taken Thomas and Cantlay. I will say if I've taken Eric Cole, I'll definitely be taking Hideki Matsuyama because if my only concern is injury with Matsuyama, I need a guy that can come back and play every week. And obviously it's projected that that'll be Cole.
Good to know. Well, I say we get into a draft and we see how this stuff fares. I'm going to keep these these are sort of like some goofy ranks, but a lot of these are just like targets that we had mentioned. So I'm going to flip back and forth as one does between ranks and ADP. And as you can see, man, this is draft number 1 for me. So this is you're gonna start things off with a bang here, I think.
Great.
Get one more. Yeah, these drafts are filling fast. As you guys can see, this is at time of recording about 74% full. I'm going to get this up ASAP so that way you all can use this awesome alpha from Jason to our advantage. And in case you didn't know, also 1 of 6 all the way through to the 261 seat final. And to make the finals, it's 250 with 50K up top. That's nice. I'll take that.
It's a really solid structure. Everything about it is it's a great contest. So I did get a little bit lucky here. I pulled the 1 pick.
Okay, man. Let's see what you got going on for me.
Yep. It's an auto Xander pick for me here. Every time, obviously, if Scotty was playing this week, it's an auto Scotty pick, right? Because the skill level between Scotty and Xander is enough. But those 160 points or more, if Xander wins this week, is going to be so key to getting out of round 1. In my opinion, if you're building around a Xander or Scotty, it's the most important pick. So, for me, it's an auto pick almost at this point.
Yeah, I can't imagine going anywhere other than Xander there. And you see Cole go off the board right away. People love them some Eric Cole, but I know a little bit better. I talked to some golf experts, and they told me Sung J M is actually a pretty undervalued pick, surprisingly, already up here at top 4. So I'm going to go Sung J and then build around him.
Yep, I love it.
And he does expect to play at the Sentry, obviously, as part of the appeal there.
Well, and because, South Korean, he typically goes to Sony. Not every year has he, but I do. Again, I expect him to probably be there.
Yeah. And we see some of the names that we talked about here. Davis Thompson, top four.
Yep.
Top four. I mean,
Crazy.
I'm just like, learning this for the first time. It's kind of blowing my mind a little bit. I mean, that's not a name that I expected to see up here, but I understand this is a kind of a unique contest. So this is where I'm looking at Colin.
Yeah, Colin, Aberg, Batia. All three of those I'm in for sure.
Anybody that you think might play the most out of Aberg and
Batia is probably going to play the most here.
I like Akshay. I'm a fan of this guy. I take him quite a bit during dailies. I'll try to brute force my way to the next round if we think he's going to play quite a bit.
I do. Yep. Yeah, I think he's going to make a big push for the Ryder Cup this year. So for me, I'm going to take Aberg. Back half the second round, way by ADP. It's an easy click for me in that regard. And now here, I don't think that both Justin Thomas and Cantlay are making it back. When I'm the 1 seed, I'm fine with going to Justin Thomas here above ADP. I could really care less. The way I've built my team now, I think I've got 3 of the top 5 at the end of this week. So I believe that's going to be tough to beat.
Not a bad start. I want to ask you about a golfer. As I think I'm going to take Cantlay. I liked everything that you were saying about it, and I like the idea of scrolling down early and getting myself a Cantlay share because I think Cantlay is pretty good at golf, and I like everything else you were saying here. I'm hearing a lot about Max Gray.
Yeah, so here's another one. A guy that I really appreciate his grind. I like to start off positive. I think he's a really good player and coming on. But the difference between him and Keith Mitchell, why is there a 25 pick difference between guys that Keith Mitchell was a better golfer 2 months ago? So that's just where I stand on that.
Yeah. I think people are really going out of their way to target, the guys that they just think are just going to play a ton of golf, which, makes sense. But I think, the way that you're doing it, like, okay, I'll get my studs and then pair with grinders as opposed to go grinders than studs.
Exactly.
All right, let's see here. Patrick Rogers up there pretty high. We see a Rory fall here. Nick Dunlap. Burns.
Yeah, Nick Dunlap is one that I do take if he's available in the back half and forth. He's a good player that I think is going to play a lot. And the other ones, again, Matsuyama, I love here as well.
Yeah, you see he earns Rookie of the Year honors. To me, it's a very positive sign that of a young player that, obviously Rookie of the Year, big award, but going to be playing a lot of golf. So You're up here at the 4-5. What do you got in store for us?
Yeah, so Taylor Pendrith I'm going to take him. He's a guy that has the exact same scenario, in my opinion, as Max Grazerman, and I think Taylor Pendrith is a better golfer, legitimately. So it's a pretty good pick. Another guy that I expect to play a lot of golf is in the exact same Max Grazerman category as JT Poston. Both Pendrith and Poston are going to be there this week. So is Grazerman. They have the exact same status as him. They all are going to fight to be in that top 50. So they're all going to need to play a lot of golf. I don't understand the difference in ADP values from these guys. I'm very happy to go Pendrith, Postons of the world over the Grazermans, so to speak. So, I kind of left Matsuyama for you if he made it. Did he make it?
Let's go. Let's see if I can get him. I'm not going to get him. Did we get him? We got him. There we go. Got my guy. I just needed your permission. I had the the suggestions up, but I needed your permission to take Hideki.
Definitely.
All right, so not a bad start for me here. Got a Sungjae, Akshay, Cantlay, Nick Dunlap, Hideki start here. We've got 5 more golfers to make this thing complete.
For you, what I would do is those 5 now are all playing this week. I think they all have really good, at least 4 of them have really good top 10 chances. Nick Dunlap, a good top 20 chance. Here's where I would start to draft grinders. And with that 10th pick, I would ensure that 10th pick is going to be playing this week. So the Chris Gotterups, Kevin Yu, Harry Hall names, make sure I draft them at least in one of those spots. And then the other ones, we can focus on grinders, the Keith Mitchells, the Patrick Rogers, who was just taken, the Michael Thorne Bjornsons, the Matt McCarty's, the Korn Ferry Tour guy. He'll play everywhere, some of these rookies that have high status, Rasmus Højgaard, Matt McCarty right there. Austin Eckler is probably the best golfer left.
Who is?
The Austin Eckler or Wyndham Clark, but I believe Keith Mitchell is going to play way more golf. So I've been taking a ton of Keith Mitchell right in this spot.
Let's go Keith Mitchell. I'm gonna try to really get some grinders here to finish off this draft here. Let's see what you end up doing here.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with Matt McCarty. He's the Korn Ferry Tour #1 guy, and he won over the fall swing in his second start. So he gets to play Sentry. But because he's a rookie, as I just mentioned, rookies play everywhere. So I'm going to give Matt McCarty a run. And then Steven Yeager, he fits in the Harry Hall winners category that might have to play quite a bit.
Nice.
Yep.
I'm thinking about just getting crazy and taking Thorbjorn Bjornsson like right away. Like I really like the idea of pairing a lot of these guys that are not typically paired together and trying to get a unique team that also has a strong chance of advancing. So I think I am just going to do that. A guy that I do want to ask about is Willie Z. I see him all the way down here. He had kind of a very strange 2020 or last season, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so he's injury riddled, but the news we've got about Zalatoris is that he's worked on his speed training and putting on some muscle. He said he put on 20 pounds of muscle and he's improved his speed. So if both those things are the case, he could be a force to be reckoned with, but you got to watch the injury load management with Zalatoris. We know he's not going to play every week because of the back injuries, but he's a guy that, like with Max Homa, who was just taken here in that example, I love those guys in this. If you've got enough grinders already where you can afford to take a top-end golfer, as Zalatoris was just taken there, as you can see, I do like the spot. Like, I think, the guy's team over there that's got Patrick Rogers, grinder, Aaron Rye, grinder. He's got the Ben Griffin, as you can see there. He needs to take Hovland and Zalatoris because he's got no stars really playing there in the first couple of weeks. So, so let's see. You're up here. If Højgaard is available, I think you having Højgaard and I know there's both.
Nikolai or Rasmus?
Rasmus has higher priority. Nikolai could be the better player, but Rasmus is going to play more probably. So
that just dawned on me that there were two Højgaards. I like Nikolai. I played a lot of Nikolai last year.
Yeah, twins, same player. Like everything about him is pretty identical. It's just that Rasmus happens to have the #1 spot from the DP World Tour, which gives him really high status, actually. So
wow.
Yeah. All right. So we're last half picks. Okay, Jake Knapp. The strategy that I've gone with in these last 3 picks has been winners that are going to play a lot, winners that are not in signature events already. So that's what we're going to go with there. And then I'm going to take, since we talked about him so much, I'm going to go Cam Davis here, man. I just do not understand the difference. So let's see if we can get that on record here and get something from it.
Well, I like that call, man. I had him queued up, and then you snatched him from me. But I think I'm going to go Goddard up here, man. I think I'm just going to keep trying to load up these these scores in this first round here, and it looks like this is a pretty grinder heavy team.
The last 4 picks are going to play all the time, and now you're at a point where you just need 2 of your stars to play each week, not all 4, to get a full team. And so in this, with your last pick here, you could be aggressive and go down to great players that are not off the board, like Matt Fitzpatrick, who won't play a ton, but he's good. Or again, stick with this theme of grinders, getting a guy like Poseidon, who that'll play a ton. Chris Kerr kind of fits more in the Fitzpatrick range of players. Dan Berger is kind of coming back. He's one that I'm getting in the back half of drafts that, he's kind of coming around a little bit and certainly was a great golfer a couple of years ago. Finished second at RSM over the fall. So he'll make some noise.
What do you think about my guy, Sepp Straka?
I was going to say, Straka. Somebody's watching, even though we're not live.
They know.
I think you can go a lot of ways. Kevin, we know is going to be one of those grinders. There's that Michael Kim and Taylor Moore that we talked about. Honestly, I love all 4 of those guys for the way your team is built right now.
Let's go Kevin Yu. Let's go Kevin Yu, and then we'll review this draft board then after and see what you do with your final pick here.
So I think I need a guy that's not a winner. So I'm gonna go Taylor Moore here. Since you've already got my Thorn Bjornsson, who I definitely picked there, we'll go Taylor Moore. I think he's a real solid golfer and in a good spot.
Love it. All right, let's review your team first from the one hole here. Your favorite player to start with, and I think everybody's favorite, Xander here. Take us down 1 through 10 here.
Yeah, so Xander Aberg, I mean, look at the top 5 odds for this week. They're the 2 leaders or 2 of the leaders with Cantlay Thomas and Morikawa. That's going to get me off to a great start. It should include Justin Thomas in there as well. I have 3 of the top 5 odds guys playing this week. Wow. I could get 500 points from those 3 guys just this week alone. I mean, it's definitely highly possible. Taylor Pendrith, JT Poston, Matthew McCarty, Stephen Yeager, Jake Knapp, and Cam Davis. My next 6 picks are all previous winners that are not what I would consider upper echelon golfers, meaning they need to play more than the Morikawas to maintain their status. So, especially in that round 4, we see JT Poston load up on those tournaments, especially last year. He was like number 63. We know that top 50 is kind of the key. He loaded up on those tournaments, ended up having a top 5 finish, did exactly that. Matt McCarty, rookie, already mentioned that rookies play everywhere so that they kind of get the lay of the land. And they like Jake Knapp, guy that was, number 62 on the PGA Tour FedEx Cup rankings last year. He's a guy that's going to one of those that need to play at more than the other guys just to maintain their status. So, and the other thing I love about this is I have at least 6 guys that are definitely going to play in all the signature events this year based on their ranking from last year. So that's the most important. My top 5 picks are all qualified for him. And then Cameron Davis is the last one that's qualified for all those signature events. So, I've got a great build. I don't have to worry about, am I going to get 6 guys in there? Really happy with the way this one turned out.
Yeah, I like your team quite a bit. I'm going to take note of all these guys that you have there together. My team from the 3 hole here, Sungjae M, Akshay Bhatia, Patrick Cantlay, Nick Dunlap, Hideki Matsuyama, Keith Mitchell, Michael Thorn Bjornsson. Did I say that right? Did I get that right?
Yep, you did.
Rasmus Højgaard, Chris Gotterup, Kevin Yu. I just said, what if these grinders end up playing the best golf of their life, and then paired it with Sungjae, Akshay, and Cantlay, and Hideki, which truthfully are the 4 golfers that I knew of. Well, I knew Gotterup and you, but I'm not drafting those guys. I'm pretty much only drafting those 4 that I named, and then tacked on some grinders here. Do you think this has what it takes to at least get me through to the next round?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Rasmus Højgaard and Michael Thorn Bjornsson are probably the 2 best products on the PGA Tour, throwing in his, Rasmus's twin brother, Nikolai. I mean, these guys are 22 years old, 23 years old at most, that have just – they're probably not even scratched the surface of their potential. They all hit the ball long. They all have great iron games, and they're all flashy with the putter. That's so important, as you know. So, honestly, I love putting those 2 guys on a team. I think your upside is just tremendous there. And the other thing about young, aspiring golfers, for these signature events, the sponsors want the most recognizable or the most, buzz around a player that they can have around a tournament. And these guys provide it, young 22-year-olds. So even if they don't qualify for, say, the AT&T Pebble Beach or the Genesis, Tiger Woods could call him up and say, hey, Michael, Thorn Bjornsson, you've got 2 top 10s. You just didn't qualify. Come play anyways, So love doing that portion. I think your top 4, your 4 horsemen that we kind of talked about before, Matsuyama, Cantlay, Bhatia, and M, combined, you could see 6 wins this year from those 4 guys. And that's what you want. So, yeah, it's really, if you look at the teams that are surrounding us, in my opinion, it's going to come down to me and you, our top 4 against each other at the Sentry Tournament of Champions. We just look at, if you compare the 4 across, one guy's got Scotty, not even playing. Davis Thompson and Eric Cole are not in the league of the guys that we have, and Tom Kim's not even playing. So just give you, a quick example. So
Wow.
yeah, I just the top 4 when we compare them across the board, our teams look so much stronger.
Yeah, it seems like a classic, have your cake and eat it too, right? We got good golfers and they're going to be playing early. We like that a lot. You want to do one more before we wrap this thing up? You down?
Yeah.
All right.
They're
Yeah,
so might as well, right?
I'm having a little too much fun. Yeah, I'm about to hop in this next one here, my second ever Scramble, but you're going to see me in a lot more after this video. I promise you.
We may not have gotten this one together. No,
we did.
Yep. We're 5. Oh, right next to each other. Nice.
All right, let's see here. We got Jordan back in here with us, and Too Much Tuna in here. Not the Too Much Tuma that I know. He's a baseball writer that writes for Underdog. He kind of threw me off there. I was like, how is he in here? But all right, we'll see what these guys do. Have you noticed a lot of auto drafters in these streets? It seems like that seems to be pretty popular. Get some ranks, plug them in, and auto away.
Yeah. So I'll be honest. Funny enough, I love the Underdog cardio club aspect. So I'm going on walks and exercising while I do a lot of these drafts.
Yeah.
So I may not catch and see if like somebody's auto drafting or not. just because I'm really I'm flipping through and going to each draft. So I haven't really paid attention to that. I'll be honest with you.
I'm a fan of that as well, though. Like I'm at the gym walking, or I'm walking outside if it's a nice day, and I'm just multi-tabling drafts while I do it. It's the best. It's the best. It makes you feel less guilty.
You get alerted, when you're 2 picks away or whatever, and
it's too easy. I highly recommend it. They call that habit stacking these days, I believe.
Yep.
This guy's gonna make us wait as we watch him take Xander after all this time. But Jordan will keep us moving.
Oh, there's the Eric Cole, and that's what I mean.
Wow.
In a lot of the rankings, they have Eric Cole number 1, and if you're using a projection set, there it goes.
Wow, that's wild. All right, well, I'm willing to take a stand there, I guess.
Yeah. So this is. I'll be honest with you. The 4 spot is the worst spot for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just have to take Scotty here because. I'm gonna have to take Scotty and hope that you don't take both Morikawa and Aberg. To be honest with you,
I mean, there's definitely worse problems to have, right? Than like, all right, I guess I'll take Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah,
all right. I'll take Morikawa. I'll take Colin. He's one of my favorite golfers during Battle Royale season. So I'll load up there, and we'll see what this salty vet is up to. He might have the same idea as us with Ludwig. Ludwig is also like my guy. So
honestly, I'm so surprised of Morikawa and Aberg not going in the first round. It blows my mind. Yeah, I'd snap pick Aberg here with having Morikawa. I'm just being honest. You don't have to, but I would, and I'm going to.
No, he's one of my favorites. Last year, just as a young player on the scene, really kind of lit things up, and I'm expecting big things from him this season. I'd like to see him just kind of turn it up to the next level here.
Maybe a major. I mean, we saw him, contend in a couple of them. So Theegala was going to be my next pick. I have Theegala and Bhatia neck and neck. I don't know that there's much difference. I think they're both going to be on the Ryder Cup team. I think they're both superb talents. I hope Bhatia makes it back to me because I'll take Bhatia in that spot. But yeah, if I'm going Scotty, I've got to take a Sahith and a Bhatia, and again, hope that I get the Thomas Matsuyama and Cantlay with those next 3 picks there.
So you when you mentioned the Ryder Cup, just to confirm, that's like we like those type of players because they were probably going to get more reps before the Ryder Cup. Is that what we're thinking?
So in the Ryder Cup, we got the top 6 guys that qualify automatically, right? Okay. So guys like Theegala and Bhatia, who are just on the verge of that top 6, will play a couple of extra times to get into the top 6 or to show the captain, and I think it's, I don't know, is it Tiger? No, it's Keegan Bradley. Sorry. We'll show just to show Keegan, hey, we're playing well, we're committed, and so on and so forth. Or if they qualify in the top 6, that means that they've played really well. And so we want them on our team. Again, I think when we look at the top golfers on the PGA Tour, the top Americans, I should say, Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay, Colin Morikawa, probably your top 4 each time, right? Sahith Theegala and Bhatia are just like right below. So that's why I like taking them. They'll play not quite as many times as, say, like a Davis Thompson, but definitely play more than your Patrick Cantlays or your Colin Morikawas.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, and obviously they're great golfers on top of that. So
ended up sneaking back to me, so it's an ideal start for me here.
Yeah, that's really nice. All right, I'm on the clock, and I'm left with that Dunlap's decision. I have Finau and Benny. You think Dunlap's going to play more than Finau? Is that like a lock?
Probably, yeah. I have to say Maverick McNeely's also there, and he's probably going to play more than both of them.
Okay, well, mix it up. I didn't do Maverick last time.
Yeah, I really don't mind McNeely here. He's going to play at the Sentry this week. Honestly, I've been taking Mav at the end of the 3rd round before I take Cantlay or Thomas with those next 2 picks.
Oh wow, okay, well, nice. Well, I'll gladly take that on my squad then.
Maverick compared to Grazerman, for example. Maverick's a better golfer. How is Grazerman going before him?
Yeah,
Eric Cole versus Maverick McNeely. Not much difference in my opinion. So yeah.
So based on like what we had talked about, if I was drafting, on my own, I would probably make this Cantlay. Mm-hmm. Is that a bit aggressive, or?
I'm taking him if you don't.
Say less.
Yep.
I'll gladly bring him on the squad here, and then let's see how you make this these 4 and 5 picks.
Yeah, I think Dunlap and Byung Hun An for me would be the next round here, and again, my hope here of taking Dunlap is that Matsuyama slips back to me on the turn, and if he does, that's great. If not, I'll go Sam Burns. Similar situation to Matsuyama. He's right on that upper echelon. Not going to play a ton. There's Burns being taken there. Yes,
of course.
Yeah.
So, I'm a big Burns guy. He's an LSU kid, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his game.
And he's solid. He's great putter and hits the ball so long that when his irons get going, he's again upper echelon player for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see Rye go to Jordan there, who has been autoing with some type of ranks there. That passes the smell test for me. Like I said, I know Aaron Rye, big fan of his game as well. So I would probably have him in the
solid pick
ranks.
Yep. Interesting. It must be the Mexico one. The Finau always plays in the Mexico Open,
right?
For the reason. So because Finau he's coming off of an injury, so you can't expect him to be sharp. To me, I've been taking Matsuyama over Finau if they've both been available.
Yeah. I don't blame you. Right?
I mean, that's super important, but I just think that Matsuyama right now is in a better spot to perform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and right on cue, pick 5 for you there, Matsuyama. All right, I'm on the clock here. Echeverria at top of ADP. I know Ekro is getting a lot of love as well. Based on people we talked about, though, we liked Rogers. What do you think between Rogers and Ekro?
I think that I would take Ekro and hope Rogers makes it back. That's exactly how I drafted. Yep.
Yeah, well, let's see what Salty Vet does. He's sort of been a bit of a wild card for us in this draft so far. I went with Posty and Rory with his last 2 picks. Hopefully he's not just going right off ADP. Otherwise, might have to come up with a different plan after Eckroat here. So based on – go ahead.
Yeah, no, it does look like he's going off of ADP, though. Taylor Pendrith, another guy that was right there at 28. So I'm going to guess Roger slips back to you for sure.
I would like that because I could use some grind. Like based on like what I am seeing from my own team, my assessment tells me I need more grinders.
Yep, right in these spots. This is what I love doing. Again, I just don't think there's so much difference between a Ben Griffin and the guy you're about to take. And instead, you got Ludwig Gayberg now,
Right. It's crazy.
He's going to be stuck with, if you want to go to a star, Max Homa. I would rather have Ludwig Gayberg and Patrick Rogers over Max Homa and Ben Griffin any day of the week.
That checks out to me too.
Yep. I'm pretty high on Keith Mitchell, so I'm going to keep taking Keith Mitchell in the 6th and 7th round in hope that I do get a win out of him in one of these weird events. And that, if you get the winner in one of these weird events, it's almost an auto, advance at that point. So I'll take Keith and hope for that. I've got about a 50% exposure right now, so I'll stay right on that mark.
That's massive.
Yeah,
I love it though.
the Cantlay exposure is like 90%. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't get him in this one because you stole from me.
That's what I love, man. You got to take these stances, right? If you think you got the edge, only one scramble a year. You got to press it.
Yeah, well, maybe there'll be a couple more. I was thinking maybe
after the scramble returns, right?
Yeah, I was thinking they'll put the scramble returns out after round 1 is done, kind of.
That's true. But these scramble is only once a year, so you gotta.
You're right. Yeah, that's right. Good point.
Got to press those edges.
Yeah, I'm gonna just go with Matt McCarty here. I talked about him before. I think he's a good value, low risk pick. A guy that's gonna play a ton of golf.
I like it. Pick 41 for me by ADP. Hovland, which doesn't seem good. Spieth, I know of. It's Spieth, or we have Arthur and Bjornsson and Hogard here.
Yeah. This is tough. It looked by your team. I think we need at least one more grinder. So
yeah, you're right. And Spieth is not that.
No, I just don't think he's gonna be coming off of an injury. He's gonna get into AT&T Pebble Beach. If he doesn't get a sponsor invite to AT&T Pebble Beach, then that's whatever. He's getting in. He's been their spokesperson for like 10 years, so I'm not worried about it. He didn't qualify, but he'll get an invite. So I expect him to play 4. If he adds the Amex, which is the first event in California, he becomes a great value at this pick, but we won't know that for a month.
Yep.
So tough decision there.
Well, I'm gonna take this exciting rookie, man. Thorbjørn Bjornsson is gonna be.
I'm taking him in one of the next 2 picks, so you got to get him now.
Exactly. This is gonna be a staple for me. Is this guy here? Just knowing he's gonna play a ton of golf to me is enough for me.
Yep, totally agree. So let's see. This is an interesting one here. I think I'm going to go with Christian Bezaiden, who a guy that didn't had a good year last year, didn't win, plays a lot of golf. He's a veteran. I think he goes well with the Keith Mitchell and Matt McCarty's. I think they'll play a lot of golf together.
Nice. Yeah, he's a name that I certainly recognize. Let's see here.
I was just going to take Homa, by the way.
Were you? That was the time.
That was the time. Yeah, that seemed like a good value. If I didn't take Scheffler with that first pick, I would take Hovland here. But because I took Scheffler, I think I'm forced to take another grinder to make sure that we've got enough spots filled throughout.
Ooh.
So, I think I'm going to go our guy Kevin Yu, who you took in the last draft. I think this is a good spot for him in the 9 hole for me.
I wonder if I can thread this needle. It might be a little too thin, but Hovland all the way back here, I feel like is just worth the gamble.
You've taken 3 grinders, so at some point, like I said, he definitely becomes worth it to me.
Well, let's take the chance. Let's see. He like you just saw there, might not make the Sentry, but if we can get one more of these grinders on this team and try to sneak this one through, I'll take a little late round Hovland. At that point, I'll roll the dice, man. That's how I like to play these things. Everybody has a price at some point.
Definitely.
Hopefully it's got her up. If not, I will take Michael Kim. This guy goes, is that Doug Gim? Yep.
You went Doug Gim. Yeah, that Gim definitely makes sense to me. I think that Kurt Kitayama is a better golfer. If you want to go that Doug Gim route, I think Kitayama is a better golfer than Doug Gim. So that I would take Kid. He's got better priority ranking too. So just a feeling or what have you.
Yeah, and then that guy finished off with Bo Hosler, and I know Bo. I'm familiar with Bo's game.
Yeah, and one guy that we haven't talked about. I don't know if you have enough time in yours, but Minwoo Lee, ultimate upside pick. Don't know how much golf he's going to play though. But here's a guy with talent.
Well, I'm gonna go Goddard up because I need strokes. I need players on the tour. But I love Minwoo. I'm very familiar with Minwoo's game, so he's somebody mix it in future drafts.
Yeah, so looking at my team, I actually do think I've got a spot for Minwoo because I do think some of my stars are grinder stars. I mean, they play a lot, like Akshay and Sahith. So I think I do have a spot for Minwoo here, and I think it balances out the team a little bit with Kevin Yu getting in some of those signature events already. So I am going to have one of my guys either get a sponsor invite or play their way in. Actually, I don't know. Poseidon Hoop might. I have to check where his FedEx ranking is
Mm-hmm.
there for me, which makes sense. A really good pick if I got him.
Yeah. I mean, this is just a lot of fun. I love the idea of trying to combine these sort of, okay, who's a good golfer and who actually is going to score well. It's such a it's such a grinders tournament, and I appreciate you sharing some insight with me, man, on this. Before we go, let's go ahead and give us a recap of your team here.
Yeah, so I did just look up, and Poseidon, who came in 29th last year, so that means he is in all the signature events. So right off the bat, we've got our 6 guys that'll play in every signature event, so long as they play, in Scotty, Sahith, Batia, Dunlap, Matsuyama, and Poseidon Hoop down there. So all right away, we got those 6. We know Scotty's not playing this week, so we filter in Kevin Yu and Matthew McCarty, who are playing this week, not in the top 50, but are playing this week. So we've got 7 guys going for this week. We look at Sony just really quickly, which is the following week. We know Matsuyama typically plays, and all the guys below Matsuyama are going to play in it. So there's my 6 or at least 5 golfers starting for Sony. So yeah, I definitely took more of a upside gamble with the last pick in Minwoo Lee. Definitely won't play as much as the guys that are surrounding him in these picks here. Won't play as much as Goddard up more than likely. But again, I went for the upside there with Minwoo.
I like it. Sometimes you gotta save some drafts for those type of builds, just because you never know how things can play out, and you end up getting some high leverage pieces there. Yep. I'm gonna recap my team, and you're just gonna have to tell me if this is a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and be brutally honest. Yep. This team: Colin Morikawa, this is from the 5-hole. Ludwig Oberg, Maverick McNeely, Patrick Cantlay, Austin Goat, Patrick Rogers, Rasmus Højgaard again, Michael Thorbjornsen again, Victor Hovland, Chris Goddard. Does this have life? Yeah,
I mean the top 4 picks, or what I would consider the top 4 picks: Ludwig, Morikawa, Cantlay, or we'll go with the top 3 here in this instance. 3 of the guys top 5 odds this week, right? Knock that off right off the bat. They could give you 500 points just this week. I mean, insane the value you're going to get from them here this week. Maverick McNeely also playing, so there's 4. Austin Eckroat also playing, so there's 5. And then we scroll down, and you've got your back half of Victor Hovland and Chris Goddard both playing this week. So 7 golfers. You used your last 2 picks to get guys playing this week. I really think that's a great strategy because they're going to provide a ton of value. Obviously, Hovland's not going to play Sony, but I expect Goddard up to. And then you got your grinders of Rogers, Højgaard, and Thorbjornsen that we talked about. Getting 3 of those 4 grinders that legitimately will play every week they can. I just think those guys are so important to the team. And not only are they going to play every week they can, with our 2 rookie studs in Højgaard and Thorbjornsen, we've got upside that we don't even know where the ceiling is really with those guys.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's the best of both worlds there. So I'm really glad that you put those guys on my radar. I think that's going to make drafting a lot easier for me, and I feel a lot better and a lot less intimidated about getting into these scramble streets after getting to speak with you, Jason. I really appreciate you, man, coming on here and talking with us once again. I always have such a blast chopping up with you. You can tell you're so passionate about golf in these tournaments, and it just makes for a really fun show, man. Before we go, you mentioned gambling. Anything else that you would like to plug for the audience here for your hard work?
Yeah, I'm honestly, I'm really focusing all of my working time over at Gambling. We're just building some incredibly cool stuff over there. If you haven't checked us out, again, everything is free. We have an app as well, both for iOS and Android. So, again, gambling.com. We've got golf coverage starting this week. It's great. We've also we just added Underdog coverage to our thing. So I know that they're pick 'em games, and what I use it for is I like to compare the lines that I'm getting across the DFS Plus sites. So Underdog and such. So if you do play in the pick'em streets, Gambling can help you there as well. So yeah, this has been a tremendous amount of fun. I love chatting golf. I love chatting with you. So yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot. Follow Jason. I will put his Twitter handle down in the description here. And best of luck in the Scramble. Going to get this up here soon so you guys can pile in before this thing fills. Best of luck, guys. Jason, thanks again, man.
Cheers, everybody.